Okay, so Pōmarie, welcome to the Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Board for November. Open with Kakatimanga, mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te tiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te whakamomori, mā te aroha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by sheer desire and determination, by all being done with compassion, we will succeed. Cool. Okay, so first up we have apologies. So can I please have someone to second the apologies for non-attendance from board members Whittaker and Wood be received, please? Jill and Lou. That'll do, don't worry about me. We'll just put Jill and Lou. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Right, we now move to item 2, the disclosure of members' interests. Has anyone got anything to disclose tonight from on the agenda?
We had a discussion today.
Yep.
We're putting in submission for the two. Okay, yeah, we're putting in a submission as well. Did I did turn it on twice?
Third time lucky, Lou.
Okay, it's just about submissions on global contracting, and we are putting in a submission from council as well. So we felt that you know, allow you guys to put your submission, we put our submission in.
Okay.
So there's no conflict there.
There's no conflict then, because otherwise I can say that we had a conflict.
I, however, do have a conflict, so when that's been discussed, I'll leave the room.
Or both of you.
That's right. Paid an hour. Work now.
Yep. Cool. So got that. And then we move on to item 3, which is the public forum, and we've got Mark Dawson here tonight to speak to us. Welcome, Mark. Zoe's got all your slides ready, so you'll just need to let her know what ones you want or don't need, okay? Because we've just put all of the ones up here.
Right. Switch will do it.
So it's all yours.
Right, well, I'll be improvising a little, as these are not the images I had anticipated to speak on a couple of months ago, is what these are. Concerning the seats, last month I was very encouraged to see Lou and John's initiative about the park seats, often called park benches, and the gazebo transfer. So I want to speak on that a bit. I'm not alone in being positive that the 7 of those pipe-framed seats are the originals. Not unlike we were sure that the 2 swing sets and seesaw were also original features, but they were misrepresented and were lost. So I don't want to lose this opportunity with these seats. They all come with a cute little story about their coming around. I'll just have to follow the order of these images. The middle line of the handwriting there on the left demonstrates that there were 13 original park seats. They were subsidised, claimed upon, whether they were raised from general funds or donated, irrespective. Public were asked to contribute by, here's a memorial committee minutes, brochures sent asking for actual seats to be donated. There was a shop in town putting one on display as a suitable seat. Schools were invited to make donations. The circulars were sent. They decided not to fix names of donors to fixtures in the park in general, and that applied to the seats. They thought that they would issue a brochure initially, but then settled upon a published list, including people who donated trees and whatnot. The end result being the park is void of plaques other than commemorative ones. Most importantly, in the Sangha Cross. Here's a mention of a little slice of that published article in the Courier that mentions some seats there. Legion of Frontiersmen, Red Cross. Also Mr. Warburton. Oh, it's down there. Mr. Gower. So again, concerning the gazebo relocation, this diagram would show where it could go, popularly thought to just go further back. You should note that it actually seems to be part of the pergola at present, in that it actually enters between pillars 4 and 6. But if you doubled that distance approximately like that, the volume from the road would drop by a quarter, to drop to a quarter of what it was, because sound radiates outwards all round, you see. But at the very top centre of the screen, you'll see a feature that's not there now, that you could perhaps, if it does move to that site, you'll see it should be considered a natural feature. At present, it's being piped off with clay field tiles, and that has failed. It enters in the ornamental stream about halfway down it.
That watermark, that's ponds there.
Yes, just down from the playground, that little waterways. But the 1906 map shows that there is a natural water feature, or a natural drain, as it were, at that site, approximately. But the fernery and the semi-sunken garden seems to be high and dry in that 1906 map. I'm without photos to show. Am I without photos to show? When it's raining heavy, you do see natural clogging alongside the pergola. So that should be taken into account should the gazebo move. The principal advantages, as Lou initially pointed out way back in 18, to assist the marching from Mutu Street. Oh yeah, well, this shot shows the difference. And is that the end of the show? Okay. And I see your next item I wanted to squeeze in. Am I inside 5 minutes? Is that you can see from your agenda that there's a number of heritage signs proposed, but they seem to be lacking acknowledgement of Awamutu and its founding in Selwyn Park. Now, there were two prior Heritage Trail signs that went missing about early 21, and one of them was at the car parking lot by the skate park on Rewe Street. It's referred to in a heritage assessment for pipelines being put at the base of Wallace Terrace as having some spelling errors, but it read, in 1839, Reverend Ashwell persuaded around 200 to leave there and establish Christian settlement at Awamutu. I gather they came up with that name collectively, where a pa was constructed. And it's present at its earliest, I see on an 1860 map. It was a fortified pa and later a meeting house. The other mention of Awamutu was at the Mutu Street and, or just across from the squash courts there. It went missing also. And oddly, even on that metre square stone outside the information centre, it simply mentions, it doesn't mention Ashwell founding that or the school. It just gives that to, oh, it just escaped my name, who was the guy that followed him, Morgan, from 41. So it seems like, at the worst, Ashwell has been written out of history. And that is the area referred to as Dawson Place, where there was a heritage sign, no relation, by the way. That is really the birthplace of the Memorial Park, because the Beautifying Society established gardens up the stream bank as far as the corner behind the netball courts, way back in 47 or earlier. And in the first proposal for Memorial Park, it's referred to as an example of what could be achieved for the rest of the proposed park. It was lost to the stream realignment in 62 and was reconstructed by Alf Smart from about 67 onwards. The area consisted of a double-sided picnic shelter, and the funds from her bequest built the 3rd footbridge, stone paths, seats, stairways. So that's a special area, all right, worthy of a replacement heritage sign that should say much more than the original one did. But another consideration is that Al Smart was a returned air serviceman, and I don't think anybody should be erasing any of the work he did there for that reason alone. So that's it.
Thanks, Mark. Has anyone got any questions for Mark? A pretty comprehensive little bit of history there. No? Okay, so thank you for the heads up on a couple of those things.
Right.
Oh, sorry, Lou. Sorry.
I'll get my finger on that button sooner or later. Yeah, Mark, we're having a meeting, John Wood and myself, about the seats. Okay. Can I use those figures that you've just given us? The 7 original?
Yeah, 7 original remain.
It was an argument he had that none of them were actually original. So
Yeah,
I can use that if I can.
I think what's happened is that they've replaced the wood parts.
That could be the case. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is that if I can use that just a little bit, that would be great. But we just want to have a meeting about talking about, you know, because we've kept what Maria Blackwood, whatever Maria said, and we've got that document. So we're using that as a base document.
Great. We've got quotes for $501 to refit galvanized bolts, remove the wood parts, replace 3 of the panels in total, and paint. And likewise treat the steel frames with primers and rust inhibitors. Just $500. I think that might sound attractive to the ratepayers.
Certainly sounds attractive to me compared to 70,000. So,
Right.
Anyway, we won't.
There you go.
We won't delve into that right now. But thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that, and thanks for going and getting those. You know, just pricing it up and looking after the park. Appreciate it. Thank you. Whoops, I'm turning it off now. Okay. So now we move on to item 4. We have that on pages 8 to 40. We'll take the report on the heritage interpretation guidelines as read, and I believe we have Anne on site, Anne Blythe, who's the director of the museum, is here with us. Oh, and Brad. So welcome, Anne and Brad. So as I say, we'll take your report as read, but if there's anything there that you would like to highlight first or just talk to, I'll hand over to you. And then if we've got any questions, we'll then take some questions. Thanks.
Kia ora. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Good, because previously we had difficulties, so it's good that you can hear this time. So yeah, this report is updating the board on the review of the Awamutu and Kihikihi Heritage Trail signs, which has been completed using the finalised heritage interpretation guidelines. So the guidelines were developed to provide a framework with which to assess new and replacement signage to ensure heritage stories are interpreted appropriately. The review has identified a variety of options, ranging from leaving current signs in situ, combining some of our signage, installing new signs of various sizes, which are identified in the Council's interpretive signage family, and or providing interpretation via e-ready brochures, QR codes and online platforms. In some cases, removal of existing signage that is in poor condition would be involved. However, in a lot of cases, particularly in Te Awamutu, the signs are already missing. It's noted that apart from some small project-specific budget, there isn't currently any funding available for new heritage interpretation in Te Awamutu or Kihikihi, as was identified in Appendix 3. So happy to take the report as read and answer any questions.
Thank you, Anne. Have we got any questions? Jill?
Yeah, thank you, Anne. I read this all with interest. So a couple of questions. My main question would be, when there's an awful lot of signs missing, and yes, there's some in poor condition, but surely when a sign goes missing, and it has happened over the last few years, it can be replaced. Why do we wait till they're all missing and all need replacing? A second question would be that we're hearing a lot about what the council can't afford, but the tabletop family looks very expensive, and do we really need that in New Zealand? And I guess these days a lot of signage does come with the QR codes, which is great. So maybe we don't need the expense of some of these signs. And also I note that the two places you've got quotes from are the most expensive places in Waipa, and there are cheaper places to get quotes from. Thank you.
So I guess that there's quite a few questions involved there. So if I miss any of them out, do let me know. But as far as the signage not being replaced as it went missing, I guess it was one of those things. We did an audit in 2022, which identified which signs weren't there. So at that point, it was understanding what signs needed to be replaced. Before that, I guess they weren't always known to be missing. So once we did the audit, we could identify which ones were missing. Now there is no money, as we've said, to replace those signs, but we will do that as and when money becomes available. But the assessment is available there to use to identify the signage. The signage companies, I understand, and Brad, you can jump in on that, are the ones that are on council's approved supplier list. So those are the two signage companies that council has got quotes from for the signage.
Yeah, that's correct. We have a trades panel that we use, and it's tendered every 5 years. And the two we've nominated there, or the two that we've supplied, are the two that are on that panel. So that's where we look first. It's not to say we don't look outside of that panel from time to time, and by no means are we locked into any commitment with either of these companies. So we do have the opportunity to look elsewhere, but we always try to look local first.
No, thank you for that. I might just email with you, both of you, with a company that I know would be probably half as much, and just see where you go with that as a quote. Yeah, yeah. A local, definitely local. Yeah.
And I think the one other thing was the design of the signs. We had a company design those for us so that they could be, robust and withstand attempts at vandalism and weather deterrents as well, so that they are a robust sign. Unfortunately, everything costs a lot of money in these day and age, anything construction related, but they were designed to be very robust so that they should last a very long time once they're put in.
And if I could just expand on Anne's response there as well, so the stories that do have signage put in, like we really want to honour that story well, and so you want to be able to present it in a really easily readable format, and way that people will engage with the sign as well, instead of being glossed over. So yeah, it's important that we honour that story with the right treatment.
Oh, thanks, Brad. Lou?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Just quickly, those two companies that we've had quotes from, they'd be anchor institutions, approved anchor institutions within our community. Is that correct?
They're part of our trades panel. Yeah.
So they'd be anchor institutions as such. Okay.
Cool. I just had a quick question. Are there any of those style of signs around already? Have they been used, or are they?
Not as yet, no.
No,
Sorry, just to clarify that, not in Waipa,
No.
but elsewhere.
I mean in Waipa.
Yep, sorry, Nick, Kate. Yep.
Okay, so there aren't any already in place in Waipa, but that's the style of signage that you're planning to use everywhere. So, for example, down here at Anzac Green, when that comes, that sign needs replacing sooner than later. Actually, it looks terrible, but that will get replaced with one of those things.
So,
sorry, I shouldn't call them a thing. One of those signs. Well, not necessarily a tabletop, but like that style. Shouldn't
So-
call it a thing.
So if it's wayfinding or identification signage, it'll be slightly different. We won't have tabletops for that. We've got a slightly different suite. They do complement each other, but for any
so
interpretive
all-
signs, yes.
So all of those ones in the picture that you showed us, they're all classified as tabletop signs. But I thought just the big one was.
Just the, correct me if I'm wrong, Anne, but it's just the one big one that's sort of got, a tabletop is one that's sort of got a bit of an angle, so you can, makes it easier to
Yeah,
read.
but it's kind of like, oh, can you see my hands flapping around?
Yeah,
Like, so it was quite a wider look, looked like a sort of a desk kind of look. Yep. But
Yep.
then the smaller ones, so there was some sort of like little column kind of looking ones, will they be more wayfinding ones,
No,
or
so-
will they
so-
still be storytelling ones as well?
so everything that is in, was it Appendix 5 there, is all interpretive signage suite. And so they all do have that sort of tilt to them,
Yeah.
apart from the ones that are adhered to a wall or fixed to a wall.
Okay, cool. No, it was, so then the wayfinding signage, what's that? So that would be,
That's completely different to this suite. It's, I'm just trying to think of where we've got some new ones going in soon. Yeah, it's more of a straight up and down panel.
So more
like-
like this, similar to the style of the ones we've already got.
Correct. Yep. Our new suite will be more robust than what we've currently got. And
Yeah, those
aiming for-
ones didn't last so good actually, did they?
for a bit more longevity, and robustness.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Brad. Kane?
Hi, Anne and Brad, how are you? Just a quick one. I don't know if you heard Mark Dawson's presentation in the public forum. Yeah, he brought up two signs, the Dawson sign, no relation, and a sign by Alf Smart or his involvement there. I was just wondering, can we add those two at all, considering they're the original signs?
So they are part of the review. They were reviewed. So we do actually have images of those signs when they were up in place. So definitely the Awamutu sign is recommended that potentially we combine 4 signs in that area because it's sort of all in that Memorial Park area. So it's having a look at the signage for that, and maybe we combine those stories into one sign. And it does need some further research. A bit more information would be useful to add to that story because it's a very significant and interesting story. I think the Dawson one, the recommendation on that, because it was a smaller story, was perhaps to interpret that one online, have a QR code sort of accessing that rather than the expense of a sign.
Okay, is it useful for Mark to get some information to you somehow, or is there a way for that to happen?
Possibly. We do have a lot of, archives obviously at the museum, so it's just finding the time for someone to do that research, and we'd kind of want our whole lot of stories to all kind of be of a similar kind of look and feel. So we will develop those as time allows for someone to do that research. But we've probably got a lot of information that we can access currently that would help.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and just finally, my understanding was that this work is actually above and beyond what you are supposed to be doing. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just want to thank you on behalf of the community board for the effort, because it's a lot of work here, and oftentimes you don't get acknowledged for that. So yeah, thank you very much. I do appreciate that time you've put into it.
Thank you for that. That's appreciated. I did say to Brad the other day that I'd love to say it had been a labour of love, but sometimes it did feel like a bit of a labour. But it got there in the end. So it's been actually really interesting to review all the information in those signs and see what was there. But thank you for that.
Okay, is there anything else from anyone? Okay, so thanks, Brad and Anne, but just before I let you go, I just would like to definitely see some community involvement in this information gathering. I believe that there's a wealth of knowledge. There's been a huge amount of research done. I know back, using Mark as an example, he spent hours and hours going through archives and things at the library that could potentially, not the library, at the museum, that could potentially save your staff hours and hours of work looking for some of that information. So, and just talking to some of the people around the park, because they have got some really interesting anecdotal stories to share that may or may not fit in with where you're going. And I believe that community involvement and engagement is what gets that buy-in, gets the support, and it makes us feel that it's our place as well. So thank you, as Kane's pointed out, for the awesome amount of work that you've done, and really appreciate you bringing it back to keep us updated. Oh, sorry, Bruce has just suddenly thought of something. Wake up, Bruce.
Brad, sorry, that a lot of these signs, or most of them, are missing. Now, council hasn't got any money. Do you see in the foreseeable future of external funders helping out?
There's definitely a possibility. There has been previously mentioned offers of replacements of our sign, especially if there's a family connection. But there's also opportunities potentially in the future for third party. An example recently is we've secured funding for some signage at Tūrata via the Well Energy Trust. They provide a bit of money for us on a couple of projects, including a sign for Tūrata. So yeah, look, we're always open to those opportunities, aren't we, Bruce? If they ever come up, so we keep our eye out for them. Definitely.
Thank you very much, both of you. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I better move that we've received this report. So can I please have someone to, what do I want to say? Move, thank you, that's a complete mind fuddle there, that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board received the report of Anne Blythe, Director, Museums and Heritage, titled Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Heritage Trail Signs Review. Kane, someone to second that. Jill, all in favour? Against? Carried. Super duper, thank you. Okay, we now move on to item 5, which is the submission to waste to energy plant on pages 41 to 54. And at that point, I will vacate and hand you over to the Deputy Chair, Mr. Kane Titchener. All yours, Kane. Yeah, my bum's.
All right, welcome to Mika and Kirsty, who will be presenting this part of the agenda.
Thank you. So through the chair, I'd like to respectfully request that the report be taken as read and then just provide a brief overview, if I may. The purpose of this report is to provide information to the Community Board about the process relating to applications by Global Contracting Solutions Limited for a proposed waste to energy plant here in Te Awamutu. So you may be aware that resource consent applications were lodged with Waikato Regional Council and Waipa District Council back in 2021. The applications were jointly publicly notified by both councils in 2023, with close to 900 submissions received, the majority of those in opposition to the application. It was referred to the Minister for the Environment by both councils in early 2024 due to the proposal being new technology, there being greenhouse gas emissions and also the level of community interest. The Minister called in the application in August of this year and referred it to a board of inquiry. The Environmental Protection Authority is now overseeing that process. Public submissions opened on the 6th of November and close on the 18th of December. And you may have seen an article in news media yesterday confirming that the Board of Inquiry has been appointed. And so there is a Judge, Brian Dwyer, who is leading that inquiry together with a Resource Management Hearings Commissioner with background in The Waikato River Take and Management, Te Ao Māori Resource Management, Treaty Settlement Arrangements, as well as an air quality specialist. And so submissions close on the 18th of December. Last week, council elected members considered whether or not council will make a submission and provided guidance to staff to make a submission that will cover 4 areas of focus, these being social and community effects, the interface of activities and location, iwi and mana whenua considerations, and the circular economy. Staff have been working at pace to prepare a draft submission, and that will be presented to our Strategic Planning and Policy Committee meeting next Tuesday, the 3rd of December. That agenda will be made publicly available tomorrow, so you'll be able to see that draft submission tomorrow. I'm happy to respond to any questions, and Mika has taken a lead role in providing support to me in presentations that I've been making, but also in preparing the draft submission for the elected members. So Mika is also online to assist with questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just get some clarity first. My understanding is the 2 councillors are not going to make comment. Not going to make comment either. Yep. Okay, that is fine. So Jill, and it's just you and I. So a small group here. So I guess where to start, probably a few questions for Kirsty and Mika. The Eunomia report, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with that or not. It's around incineration, and I believe it was commissioned by the Waikato Regional Council. I may have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was. I just want to know whether that is being reviewed or considered as a part of the council submission. We would like to include that in a addendum, but I just wanted to check whether you've looked at that.
That's not included in the draft submission at this stage. Is not specifically one of the items that is included is talking about the effects on the community, both physically and mentally, of the emissions, but that report's not specifically mentioned. I guess just to clarify, for the submission process, the regulatory arm of council has stayed completely separate to the strategy team who are preparing the submission. So we, our strengths are in different places, so we didn't go into the reports, perhaps like you are mentioning.
Okay.
Just through the chair, also something that I overlooked mentioning was that both the Waikato Regional Council and Waipa District Council have prepared key issues reports that have been provided to the Board of Inquiry through the Environmental Protection Authority, so that those have been prepared, or the one submitted on behalf of Waipa District Council has been prepared by our regulatory arm. And there has been a conscious effort to ensure that there is a separation of function, given the role of the regulatory team in preparing that to assist the authority and the Board of Inquiry.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like they've got it. I'd like to propose that we add that in as an addendum to our submission that we have already made. And my understanding is that submission that's already been made is there as well already. So that's something I'd like to add in. And another report before I come to you, Jill, is just want to check in is I guess the plume reports in terms of where the potential air quality, etc., from the incinerator. Is that included as well, or is that the same scenario?
So through the chair, before Mika responds and tells me perhaps I'm responding incorrectly, but we've acknowledged with our elected members that this is new technology and this is a new process for Waipa District Council. We're not experts in this, you know, and we, I guess, given the time constraints, given I guess, the range of matters and work underway currently, we're not in a position to be able to engage experts to assist with the preparation of the submission. So we've really focused on those matters that have been identified by the community, by submitters through the original submission process, which really focused on community and social effects. Also the impact of the proposal in terms of location, amenity, well-being, and iwi mana whenua considerations, as well as, I guess, alignment to our waste minimisation plan. But Mika, is there anything that you'd like to add there in terms of specific reference to or consideration of the reports that our chair has referenced?
Yeah, I guess it is a similar situation to my previous answer, but I think the overarching theme in the draft submission is we're looking for more evidence, and I think that comes through in all the different areas that we touch on. So asking the board to ask for more information, basically make sure that all the information is out there and correct.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'd like to propose that we add the plume report to our addendum information, and I'll just pass it over to you, Jill, if there's any extra comment.
No, thank you, Kane. I agree with that. So just a question, we've got written in here on page 45, the Waipa District Council issues. And I'm not sure whether it's, when Global Contracting came and talked to us at a community board meeting, they did mention you've got his Mangapico stream, that they would be getting the water out of the Mangapico stream 24/7. And I asked a question at the time, and I don't know whether it's covered in this, Mika, or whether we can cover it in our submission as an addition. But I asked a question to Global Contracting on the day they were here, that they get the water out of the stream, the extra water that they don't use or they've finished with, what happens? Does it go back into the stream? And they said, no, it's too toxic to go back into the stream. We actually have to take it off site and we can't tell you where to dispose of it. So I don't know whether, but that was their words and it was live streamed, so it would be recorded. So I don't know whether that is actually covered in this or we cover that ourselves as an extra thing, because I just think that's a real toxicity thing, but whether you've covered that in your council submission, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like Kirsty said, the whole submission will be available for you to see tomorrow, so you can have a look at those finer points. But at this stage, pending council approval, that is one of the questions that is in there. But I'd highly recommend in your submission, you ask all these questions that you want to ask as well. I mean, it's your submission, and if you really want to hammer home certain points, to put it in there. So, because yeah, you want to make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we'll add another line there talking about water usage after.
Well, I think, we need to add that if they're disposing of it, it's still going to be in the Waipa area. Where are they going to dispose of that? It's not satisfactory, no.
I think I'm reasonably comfortable to go forward with our receiving of the report, etc. Did you want to? Yeah.
Maybe just there's one other one. So through the chair, as has been spoken to, the draft submission will be presented to elected members for consideration and approval next week. You'll see within the draft submission, when it becomes available tomorrow on the public agenda, that we are recommending council does wish to speak to the submission. So that's possibly also something that the community board may wish to consider, whether you yourselves wish to request to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to do that as well. We can reflect that. Joe, please.
Sorry, can I just add to this? It's pretty much what Kirsty said, but if you did in your original submission ask to be heard, to speak in person to your submission, then that carries over to this new process.
I can't recall exactly if we did or not, so I'll double check that. Just thinking if there's, because Sally's not here and John either, there might be an additional item. Maybe some sort of other reports as discussed with the community board, in consultation with the community board, in preparation of the. There might be something coming out of the council report that we're not unsure of.
And then you've also got right, including any further estimations.
Yeah. Happy with that, yeah.
Just
Yep. All right. Joy, happy with it? Oh, all right, just scroll down. Oh, up, sorry, up. I'll read that out. Okay. Let's go. That the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board 1 receives the report of Mika Hines, Strategic Policy Advisor, titled Update on Waste to Energy Plant Board of Inquiry Process, and 2 makes a submission in addition to its original submission to the Board of Inquiry on the Waste to Energy Plant proposal, covering the following issues: A, the Eunomia report; B, the Plume report; C, further information on disposal of water; D, other reports discussed in consultation with the Community Board in preparation for the submission. 3, delegates authority to the Deputy Chair of the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board, Kane Titchener, to finalise the Community Board submission to the Board of Inquiry on the Waste to Energy Plant proposal, including any further outstanding matters, in consultation with the Community Board members. 4, delegates authority to the Deputy Chair of the Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board, Kane Titchener, to speak to the Community Board submission. So I'll move that, yeah. Move that,
Yeah, seconder.
second. All those in favour, no? All those in favour? Aye. Done.
Righto, thanks, Kane. Righto, so now we will move on to item 6, which is an update on the 2025 to 34 long-term plan progress report. And I think we've got Melissa there. Hi, Melissa. So we
Good
will
evening.
take the report as read, but hand over to Melissa for any updates or any specific parts that you would like to point out, and then we'll cross over to questions. Thanks, Melissa.
Perfect. Thanks, Ange. So just an update, normal monthly update report. So work on the LTP since the last report has been really focused or still focused on the financial strategy, budgeting, forecasting assumptions, and the financial policies. So you'll see on what is this? Oh, the first page of the report. Sorry, I'm not. Oh, maybe page 55 of the agenda. There's the table which details the elected member workshops that have taken place since the last update. I do just want to make a correction to that. So the workshop detailed for the 26th of November has in fact been pushed out to the 3rd of December. So I just wanted to make that point. So we've got 2 workshops scheduled before the end of the calendar year. So we've got one on the 3rd of December and we now also have one scheduled for the 10th of December. And these will be largely focused on confirming the draft budget, indicated properties, financial policies, fees and charges, the performance measures, and looking at consultation questions that will go out to the community with. Otherwise, happy to take the report as read and obviously answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Have we got any questions? Probably more from Jill or Kane, because Lou and Bruce get to sit in on those workshops, so probably, hopefully all of their questions are answered. But is there anything from you guys, Kane?
Hi, Melissa. Hey, this, I can't remember, is it 57 million? Or the 2 water projects that have been, I'm not sure what you want to call it, missed or whatever. What's the process in terms of dealing with that? How's that gonna flow through and adjust plans?
I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. Sorry, I don't know if you can, Kirsty.
So through the chair, I guess I'd just first like to clarify that I did see some reporting that suggested that quantum of 57 million was wholly unbudgeted, and that wasn't correct. There was some budget that was provided for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade in Te Awamutu of approximately $18 to $19 million. So yeah, certainly what I saw in an article was incorrect, and we sought to provide that correction. In terms of how we're going about treating that and responding to that, I think it's fair to say that that will be addressed at the workshop that's to be held next Tuesday, the 3rd of December. So we will be, as Melissa mentioned, we will be looking at bringing to the elected members the rating profile and which will incorporate consideration of the impacts of those projects, bringing them in. Yeah. And just to, I guess, just to add to that, so Ange, as chair of the community board, is invited to attend and participate at those workshops. Yep.
Lou, have you got
Perhaps
something?
just to add to that, of course, we're still dealing with Waikato Water's done well. And we've actually, as of this week, accepted a heads up, an agreement that we were going to actually work collectively and have a memorandum, work with all the local councils. And we would be looking at progressing that by going in at what we call a level 2, which is handing over assets. So this issue could be removed by legislation from our portfolio in the near future or in the future at some stage. So although it looks and makes great headlines, there is a lot of cogs and wheels behind the scenes that are still working. And I agree with what Kirsty said, there was definitely 19 million actually set aside. So this was not totally, unbudgeted for.
So through the chair, maybe just to further add to what Lou has mentioned in relation to what's happening in the waters space. So yesterday, council agreed to enter into a heads of agreement for Waikato Waters Done Well, which is looking at a regional option. But there was also a recommendation passed about still being open to exploring an option with potentially with growth councils. So that work is progressing and I guess is running alongside or in parallel to the long-term plan development by August of next year, I think it is, mid-2025, we're required to have consulted on and approved a water service delivery plan. So those two work streams are operating in parallel with each other. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Kirsty. Right, anyone else got any questions for Melissa while we've cornered her? No, all good. I haven't got anything further, Melissa. Hopefully all going to plan. I'll see you next week on Tuesday. So look forward to the update. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. We better move that report. So if I can have someone please to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Melissa Russo, Manager Strategy, titled 2025-2034 Long-Term Plan Progress Report. Oh, Lou, and second Jill. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, we move to item 7, which is confirmation of the 2025 meeting dates. That's on pages 57 to 58 of our agenda. So I'm just going to ask quickly before we receive and adopt the schedule. Did anyone have any issues with any of those dates or see any obvious problems or clashes or anything like that that any of us have overlooked at all?
I just want to thank you for putting it on the 16th of April.
Oh,
The 25th of April is my big day.
I know, right? Is it? Is it, Lou? Mm. Yep.
There's a B, sorry.
Hold on, go there. Hang on, just, sorry. Proposed meeting schedule.
Yeah, so there's this one, then if you keep scrolling.
Hang on.
I
Oh.
missed it.
Oh, right, okay, yep, gotcha, okay. So no one can see any issues with that? Okay, so there's actually 3 parts to this, being that A, we received the report proposed schedule of meetings 2025 of Joe Greed, Governance Manager, and B, adopt the following schedule of meetings for 2024 commencing at 6 p.m. So that'll be the 26th of February, 26th of March, 16th of April, 28th of May, 25th of June, 20th of August, 17th of September. And of course, we only go until then because we have elections next year. And C, we delegate to both the Chief Executive and the Deputy Chief Executive the ability to alter the schedule of meetings in consultation with the Chair of the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board. So we're happy with that. So if I can have someone to move that. Lou, did you say? Yep. And second, Kane, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, we now move on to item, oh, how come we've gone to 12? Item 8, it probably should be. Board members' reports from meetings attended on behalf of the Te Awamutu Community Board. Right, so we got any updates from anybody on what they've been up to? Nope.
So we did do this one.
I did attend the presentations for the fire brigade.
Oh, yes.
And just one thing to note, that one of our staff members, Carl Tutty, is getting a reward, not this time, but next time, 25 years continuous service.
Oh,
which I thought
nice.
is really great.
Mm.
Just to also add that on Monday, Carl is also becoming a civil defence controller and being elected in through that. So I think that's quite a significant, you know, milestone for one of our staff. So I think that's a really important thing.
Nice. I just can add that I met with the group that were interested in altering the parking times. And we had a really good meeting with Brian Hudson. And I see already that he's moved ahead with that. There's been an email back from Dawn with a press release, and they're hoping to change the signs to 2-hour parking as a experiment, basically, in this a trial is the word I want, to see how it goes. So that's really awesome, and I just have to say, so stoked that it was so productive and we've got something happening straight away. It feels really cool to have that happen. So big thank you to Brian and Dawn, especially to Dawn, because I know how much other stuff she's currently got on her plate with all of the mahi that she's involved with. So for her to be able to slip us in, we're very, very grateful. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing those changes and giving it a go. Lou?
Just one other thing, I actually supplied the wreath for the community board.
Oh,
I paid
yes.
for that, and I thought, well, it was only $20, but I mean, I got a real big discount because I work there all the time. So I just thought, I've got the account, so I just present it to Deb or someone. You know, you guys, as long as you're happy with paying that,
We have to do a resolution.
So it'll need
It'll
to,
have to be it.
yeah.
So something we need to take up later.
Yep, good as gold. I just wanted to add that I went along and presented the wreath, and it was, it's such a neat remembrance day that to be able to acknowledge finishing a war and to the sacrifice and the peace that we've experienced in our lifetime going forward. So no, it was a real honour, and I got to sit next to a very important man,
John Broadley.
Broadley, yes.
Brigadier.
I wanted to say Bradley, but
No, John Broadley.
it's
Brigadier.
Broadley, isn't it? Yeah, I had Bradley stuck in my head, but I knew that was wrong, hence looking to you. So it was, as I say, it was a lovely service, and I was very honoured to be part of that. So if anyone else has got anything, Jill?
I just want to say I really have been very involved a couple of hours a day with the Operation Christmas Hamper, which is a community thing. And I'm just wondering if the councillors have got anything to report from council as well. Thank you.
Coming to that.
Councillors.
Oh, that's you, Lou.
I was going to let Bruce go first.
It's like, who's that? That's you.
That job between Ahuaki and LTP business, so I think that's been about us, really. And it's at least 2 days a week sort of thing.
I have a quick question for you in regard to council business, because I jumped on yesterday and was interested to follow the how do you say it? Revocation of a couple of green spaces that we have here in Te Awamutu. And I thought that Councillor Montgomery made a very good point in regard to reducing our green space at this time when there is a very high chance that our density is going to increase. So, and especially in light of the fact that they're quite narrow and there was some issues. So I just wondered, maybe you could both share a little bit more for the community board, just on the reasons behind that decision to revocate.
Fair enough. The first one is Goodfellow.
Fellow, yeah.
And Goodfellow has a limitation with its where it is, location, and its access. Okay, so you can't really use it for anything much in green space because of its narrow access. But what I wanted to say to everybody, although they will probably sell that to a developer, the developers will have to actually supply under the Resource Management Act green space. All right, so there is a catch within that, a catch 22. So we can actually ask them to supply some green space. The other one was the Arthur Patterson Reserve, which is down off Eden Avenue. Okay, and it's not a particularly great site. I have had some involvement with this myself a little bit and was reticent at one stage, you know, actually having it revoked. However, what we're doing at the moment is only revoking the reserve status. We are not selling or anything else, but if we don't progress that, we can't do anything with it because a reserve is actually vested in the council and the government, not in the council. So we've actually got to put that revocation through to the minister and go through the process. And I just want to make everyone aware that if we do that at times and we just have it revoked, the actual minister can actually take 50% of the value, unless we can actually justify why we're doing it. So and you know, allocate it somewhere else. So it's just a process. So that's all we're doing at the moment, a process, so that we do it. And in saying that, I think it's quite important with the Arthur Patterson Reserve that if that is revoked, perhaps we have another location or something to recognise somebody that did a huge amount of effort and time in our community. You know, he's deputy mayor for 9 years, I think, and he did a tremendous amount of time.
But Ange, I think staff did say there's adequate green space around those. If they were to dispose of it, in most of a couple of years' time, takes time. There's adequate green space for kids to play on in the vicinity.
Yeah, well, I'd actually challenge that. And the reason I do is because in Canberra, I stayed there a while back for my, it doesn't matter why. And anyway, I was in quite a residential area. And within the space of where I could walk, they have a number of little green spaces. So if you imagine a family with young kids, the closest, for example, to Goodfellow Street is they need to go right down across the thing to Anchor Park, or they need to go up Collins Hill or right round Station Road before they get to the Rewe Street Centennial Park. Otherwise, they go all the way down to Memorial Park. So actually, it's a reasonably big walk actually for someone with young children, or somewhere where you could send primary school age kids to say, oh, just run, you know, you guys are safe to go to the park there. So that's just my
Yeah, no, I've got no
with,
problem. It's going to take time. So even
Oh,
before we get
absolutely.
there, you know, most of
yeah. But it was just, it caught my eye and it was something to do with Te Awamutu, and I sort of thought, oh, well, yeah, that's quite interesting. And I just thought that that was worth
And the Arthur
mentioning.
Patterson Reserve is actually isolated, but it's actually quite steep.
Where is it?
Arthur Patterson Reserve off Eden Avenue.
Oh.
And
And you
it's in behind
said,
the houses.
and you'd mentioned there's quite a lot of
It's
storm
also
water.
got, it's prone
Yeah.
to flooding, and it is actually a flooding area. And it has the big thing to the family was that Arthur himself planted the nut trees, the trees in there, and they'd like to see that there's some recognition they've taken away, have done something with it.
Yeah, no, it was, I just thought that was something that was of interest. So, no, thank you. So is that everything? Yep. Okay, so that's item 8. So next item 9 will be the date of our next meeting. So the next Te Awamutu-Kihikihi Community Board actually will be at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 26th of February 2025, because we don't have anything to go in our agenda for December. So there's not any point in having a meeting for the sake of a meeting. And so we won't be having a meeting. So before we close, I will read my karakia whakamutanga. So if we can just have everybody be quiet for a moment, final moment. Kua mutu a mātou mahi, mō tēnei wā, mana kitia mai mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ao ki te aorangi. Our work is finished for the time being. Protect us all, our friends, our family, and peace to the universe. So I would also like to just take this opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, to thank the staff, because we won't be seeing you again in an official capacity. So thanks, team, for all the hard work that you've done through us throughout the year. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys have safe and happy Christmas, but I'll probably catch you before then, but just to be safe. And big thank you to the team. You guys have done a huge amount of work. Thanks for putting up with